Right. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. ولا يتزوج أمة على حرة, and he cannot marry a female slave over a free woman. So in other words, what this means is that if you married a free woman first, then the second wife can't be a female slave, right? لقوله عليه السلام لا تنكح الأمة على الحرة, due to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam statement that a female slave will not be married over a free woman. وهو بإطلاقه حجة على الشافعي رحمة الله في تجويز ذلك للعبد. And this hadith, with its generality, is a proof against Imam Shafi rahmatullah in permitting that for a slave boy. In other words, he says that if the husband is a slave, then his first wife, if his first wife is a free woman, his second wife can be a female slave. وعلى مالك في تجويزه برضاء الحرة. And this hadith is also a proof against Imam Shafi rahmatullah, Imam Malik rahmatullah, in permitting that with the happiness of the free woman. In other words, Imam Malik says that if the free woman who is the first wife, right, says no harm, you can take her as your wife, the female slave as a second, then uh, it's permissible according to Imam Malik, however, not according to us. ولأن للرق أثرا في تنصيف النعمة على ما نقرر في الطلاق إن شاء الله تعالى. And because for slavery there is an effect in halving the ni'mat, upon that which we will explain in talaq inshallah ta'ala. In other words, slavery, when you're a slave, then you enjoy half the benefits of a free person, right? So فيثبت به حل المحلية في حالة الانفراد دون حالة الانضمام. So it will be established so the permissibility of the mahal will be established with slavery in the situation of being alone and not in the situation of joining. So in other words, since we need to halve her ni'mats now, whose ni'mats? The slave girl, right? So whatever a free woman can get, she can get half of it. So if your first wife is a free woman, right, then your second wife can be a free woman. That's what the masla is, right? But if your first wife is a free woman, then your second wife can't be a female slave, right? So if you look at it now, so here we are halving her ni'mat now. So we're saying that in the situation of being alone, she's the only wife now. Who? The slave girl. She's the first woman he's getting married to. Then she'll become halal. She's halal for him. So in the situation of infirad, she's halal. But when in the situation of inzimam, when you're joining her to a free woman, then she's not permissible. So that's how we halved her ni'mats, right? ويجوز تزوج الحرة عليها, and marrying a free woman over a free woman or over a slave is permissible. لقوله عليه السلام وتنكح الحرة على الأمة, and a free woman can be married over a female slave. So if the first wife is a female slave, then the second wife can be a free woman, right? ولأنها من المحللات في جميع الحالات, because the free women are from those women who are halal in all situations, right? Whether your first wife is a free woman or a slave woman, your second wife can be a free woman. She's halal in all situations. إذ لا في حقها, because there's nothing to make half her right. There's nothing to make her right half because she's a free woman. She's not a slave woman, right? فإن تزوج أمة على حرة في عدة من طلاق بائن لم يجوز عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله تعالى. And if he marries a female slave over a free woman in the iddat of a talaq ba'in, then still it's not permissible according to Imam Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi. So we know now that you can't marry a female slave as a second wife when the first wife is a free woman. If the first wife is a slave girl, then the second wife, slave girl, no problem. But the problem is when the first wife is a free woman, then the second wife can't be a slave girl. So here now, he divorced his first wife, a buying divorce, but she's still in his iddat. Then according to Imam Hanifa, you can't get married to the slave girl as yet. وَيَجُوزُ عِنْدَهُمَا. However, according to Sahibin, it's permissible. لأن هذا ليس بتزوج عليها. They say because this is not marrying over her. You're not marrying over her. وهو المحرم, and that is the thing that is making haram, that you marry over her. And as a proof and as a backup, what do you say? ولهذا لو حلف لا يتزوج عليها لم يحنث بهذا. And they say, even even if he takes an oath that he will not marry over her, and uh, and he did this, then he will not have broken his oath. You understand? So this is Sahib been saying now that here you can see he didn't marry over her. He didn't marry over her. And the proof for that is if he had to take an oath that he won't marry over her, and he marries now the second woman while she's in iddat of talaq bain, then he would not have broken his oath. Let's see what Imam Bani Rahman says, right? ولأبي حنيفة أن نكاح الحرة باق من وجه لبقاء بعض الأحكام. Imam Bani Rahman is the lead said the nikah of a free woman is still remaining from one aspect, from one angle, right? Due to the continuation of some of the laws. In other words, because although she's in the iddat of talaq bain, but because some of the laws remain that he has to give her nafka, she can't leave the house. So those laws are still remaining. So therefore, it says though she's still from one angle in the nikah. You understand it? فَيَبْقَى الْمَنْعُ احْتِيَاطًا. So the prohibition will remain out of precaution. Out of precaution, you'll tell the man he can't yet take that female slave as his second wife or as a wife now. بخلاف اليمين, right? Contrary to an oath now. So now Imam Banifa have to answer the backup mas'ala. You understand? So he says, لأن المقصود ألا يدخل غيرها في قسمها. They say now, contrary to an oath now, because the objective of the person taking that oath is that he will not enter besides her in her chance. You understand? So when he says now, so Imam Bani Rahman is explaining this oath here. He's saying that when he takes an oath that I won't marry over you. What he tells his wife, I won't marry over you. Right? Then when he marries, when she's in Iddat Tebain, what happened? Oh, okay. When he marries, whilst she's in Iddat Tebain, then he hasn't married over her. Because when he took the oath, the objective is giving her, or actually is pacifying her to tell her, don't worry, I won't include anyone in your share. So if others, if we you won't have to one night rotate. You understand it? So that's what the object of the oath was. And since that is not found, therefore is not harnessed. وللحر أن يتزوج أربعا من الحرائر والإماء. And it's permissible for a free man to marry 4 free women and female slaves. It means here total 4. You can't marry 4 free women and 4 female slaves. Maybe total, either 2 free women and 2 female slaves, or 4 free women or 4 female slaves, whatever it is, there's a total you can marry. وليس له أن يتزوج أكثر من ذلك. It's not permissible for him to marry more than that. لقوله تعالى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع. Marry whatever pleasing to you from women, 2, 3, and 4. والتنصيص على العدد يمنع الزيادة عليه. And stipulation upon the number prevents increasing over it. When you tell you 4, that means you can't go more than 4. Stipulating on the number. وقال الشافعي رحمة الله عليه لا يتزوج إلا أمة واحدة. Imam Shafi Rahmullah says he cannot marry except one female slave. And we explain that because he say you're putting your offspring into slavery. You understand it? So he say you cannot marry except one female slave. لأنه ضروري عنده, because such a nikah is out of necessity according to him. They only do that when you really can't afford free woman. Right? وَالْحُجَّةُ عَلَيْهِ مَا تَلَوْنَا. And the proof against him is what we have recited. This فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ إِذَا الْأَمَةُ الْمَنْكُوحَةُ يَنْتَظِمُهَا اسْمُ النِّسَاءِ كَمَا فِي الظِّهَارِ. Because a woman, a married female slave, a female slave who's married, now. Obviously, she's a female slave to the master, but she's married to somebody else, right? The word nisa includes her. the word nisa includes her, just as in zihar, um, in the ayats of zihar, also we find that the words nisa includes the amati mankuha also. What's the ayat of الذين يظاهرون من نسائهم, those who make zihar from their wives. So that nisaim is mutlaq there. So that zihar will apply to slaves and the free woman, and the slave girls also. So just as in zihar, the word nisa is included. Likewise, in ya فَانكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ, the female slave should be included in there. ولا يجوز للعبد أن يتزوج أكثر من اثنين. It's not permissible for a slave boy to marry more than two. وقال مالك رحمه الله يجوز. Imam Malik رحمه الله says it's permissible up till four. لأنه في حق النكاح بمنزلة الحر عنده, um, because he, the slave boy, in the right of nikah, is on the rank of a free man according to Imam Malik. حتى ملكه بغير إذن المولى. So much so that he owns marrying without the permission of the master. According to Imam Malik, so this, when it comes to nikah, the slave boy is like a free woman. He doesn't even have to ask the master. We don't say that. He says that, right? ولنا أن الرق منصف. Our dalil is that being a slave halves your ni'mats, right? فيتزوج العبد اثنين والحر أربعا. So the slave boy can marry only two, and the free man can marry four. إظهارا لشرف الحرية, to make apparent the honor of being free. You understand it? So therefore the slave can only do two. فإن طلق الحر إحدى الأربع طلاقا بائنا لم يجوز له أن يتزوج رابعة حتى تنقضي عدتها. Then if the free man divorce one of the four wives, a bain talaq, it's not permissible for him to marry a fourth wife now. You know, there's another one, right? Until her iddat elapses. They used to wait for that fourth one, the one that he divorced, for her to iddat to finish, then only can he marry another one. وفيه خلاف الشافعي رحمة الله عليه, and in it is the ikhtilaf of Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayh. In other words, he says that you can marry because the nikah is broken. إعمالا للقاطع, giving work to the qati', which is the talaq. Otherwise, he says the talaq is not doing anything. So, but to show that the nikah is totally broken, the talaq must do its work, and therefore the nikah is totally broken. Therefore, you can marry. He says. وهو نظير نكاح الأخت في عدة الأخت في عدة الأخت, and this is similar to the nikah of a sister in the iddat of a sister. We say you can't marry, and he says you can. You understand it? As long as until the iddat finish, you can't marry the other sister. وإن تزوج حبلى من زنا من زناء جاز النكاح. And if he marries a woman who's pregnant from zina, then nikah is permissible. ولا يطأها حتى تضع حملها, and he will not make wati with her until she delivers her pregnancy. وهذا عند أبي حنيفة ومحمد رحمة الله, and this is according to Tarfain. وقال أبو يوسف رحمة الله النكاح فاسد. Imam Abu Yusuf Rahman says the nikah is fasid. You understand? He says you can't marry a woman who's pregnant from zina. وإن كان الحمل ثابتا نسبي فالنكاح باطل بالإجماع. And if that pregnancy is it's wasabit nasab, in other words, the fetus, right, is actually got a father, sabitun nasab, right? Then the nikah is batil with consensus. So what they're showing here is that obviously in zina, the child has got no father, right? Got a mother but no father, right? But if there's a situation where the pregnancy is sabitun nasab, like maybe it came from Darul Harb, Darul Islam, you understand? And she was pregnant, and they were married. Then that fetus belongs to that father. You understand it? Then you can't. Then a nikah, you can't marry that woman because she's pregnant now, and the child's got a father. ولأبي يوسف رحمه الله أن الامتناع في الأصل لحرمة الحمل. Uh, Imam Abu Yusuf is giving proof now, yeah. He says, right. He says, Imam Yusuf Rahman says that the prohibition of marrying in the original masla, which one? When the hamal is sabitun nasab, is why? Is because of the hurmat of the fetus. وهذا الحمل محترم. And this fetus is also sanctified. It's also something of honor. لأنه لا جناية منه. Because the fetus didn't do any crime. There's no crime from him, right? ولهذا لم يجوز إسقاطه. And for this reason, aborting him is not permissible. Aborting him is not permissible. Okay, we'll leave it today. I'll just explain this one again now. So Imam Yusuf Rahman is saying, what he's saying here is that if we look at, we all agree that if the hamal is sabitun nasab, then nikah to a pregnant woman is not permissible, right? So he says, if you look at that masla there, you'll see that the hurmat there. Why was it haram to marry there? Because the hamal was muhtarima, right? Sacred, right? The hamal was sacred. So he said, in the case of the zina, the hamal is also sacred. And because the hamal didn't do anything wrong, right? And what's the proof for this? And therefore, you can't abort the hamal either because the hamal is sacred. Tomorrow we'll do the others, inshallah. Leave it till me.